entire world.
Assalamu alaikum, guys. So, we are going live today, and we are going to
talk. It's like the Queen of the Kid show. This is it live right now?
Yes, it's
He
live
said, what is this technology?
What is this technology?
This is my son Isan, and Isan is my khalifatul ard. He's a child. He's my tree hugger. So, Isan is going to. He's right. You are majoring in Parks and Forest Resources, and a minor in ecology communication?
No, environmental interpretation and education.
So he gonna be a black man that's gonna make a lot of money.
Interpretation and education. All right. And that's my daughter Sola.
Hi.
You can come in a conversation about, we were talking about environment. Real quick. Okay. That's a little bit better. All right. So we were talking about what climate change and what's happening, right? And San has an interesting view on climate change. So it's a conversation I think that is important because it's something that we talk about a lot, that we see on the news. And you said awareness
is not activism.
Why? And so how do you explain that?
I believe through my talking with other people and just a lot of people who want to make a lot of change and make a difference, that they find that sharing everything online will start a conversation, which is a really good thing to keep people aware and keep people actively knowing what's going on in the world around them. But ultimately, knowing a lot of issues doesn't really solve them. Like when you start a conversation online, it usually starts a conversation, but it remains a conversation. Like everybody knows what's happening in China with the Muslims, but I'm not hearing no action towards doing it. And especially when it comes to climate change, with my major, I'm trying to get into conservation. It seems like everybody knows, and everything, all the science is basically crystal clear of a lot of solutions that need to be put in place and everything that needs to happen, but no one's really doing anything about it.
No one who? Who's not doing anything? Or who needs to be doing? How do we, if awareness is not activism, what is activism and what can we do in order for us to make any type of change towards?
Well, when it comes to climate change is the increased amount of CO2 emissions that we are putting out based on our human needs that we're putting out into the atmosphere. And those CO2 emissions come from companies making certain things. It's coming from us driving cars, so the CO2 from the gas tank coming out. So it's actually a tricky situation because a lot of these CO2 emissions that we're emitting, the things that are destroying the planet, is things that we rely on. And unfortunately, it's not even an American issue, it's a worldwide issue. If America gets its whole act together and goes 100% CO2 free, we still have other companies in other countries that are still messing up the earth. So real activism happens with the people, but not really. If you ride your bike to work, thank you, you're helping out. But it's not really gonna do anything unless everybody rides their bike to work, and everybody's not gonna ride their bike to work. You can take the bus to help out, but unless everybody takes the bus, you're helping, but not.
It's like a drop in a bucket.
And I feel like these things need to happen with everybody, which is true, and that's really how it stops, because it's not you're helping out, thank you. It's we have 10 years to cut 50% of our CO2 emissions, or else it will be irreversible. So that's why I have a lot of urgency to get it done, because we don't have forever. So if the same people are just riding their bike to work while everybody's driving their cars, it will just help out. But unless it's under that 50%.
Okay. Do you think? But don't you think if a few people are doing it, it can create a groundswell to get more people to do it?
Yeah, it can.
Do you think that's happening?
I have not seen any study or surveys that show do you ride your bike to work or any of that. But that's the hopefulness I feel like people have. It's a few people do it, so it's going to catch on, and everybody, even more people is going to help out. But that's hopeful. That's hopeful thinking. I think I feel like the real people that actually make things. I'm in school for environmental studies, okay?
And I went to school for believing in people and believing in the change that people
this ain't coming from an average Joe, okay?
Listen,
When I finished, I went to an environmentally based high school, so my mind is set on this. And then I went to Green Mountain College, another environmentally based college. And so right before I went to college, I was like, I'm gonna fix climate change. It's all good. It's an environmental issue. And then my first year of college, learning everything, I was like, it's a political issue and even an environmental issue. Like, there's no science that would be needed in order to fix all this. Like, what's wrong? We know what's wrong. We just have to put action into place. And that's done by politicians or really rich people.
So, do you think that people like you need to go into politics so that we can get it done?
That's the tough part, because politics usually goes to like Democrats and Republicans, and only one side really believes in it. And politics is very slow. Bills passing will take years unless it's like an emergency action, like a climate action that people are talking about. But it's tough because in politics, things don't really work out at the speed it needs to be working out, and that's why there's so much urgency right now, because we only have 10 years to 10 or 11 years to fix all this. So if it works,
anyways, as a non-institutionalized black person,
because it's tough. A lot of people say, I thought the same thing. I thought it was like, the world's gonna end if climate change is irreversible. But when you look at what's going to happen, it's basically a lot of animals will die in the wild. A lot of ecosystems will collapse, ultimately making us suffer from it and not realizing it until then. Rise in sea levels, so a lot of cities will go under. But humans, fortunately and unfortunately, are very adaptable. And it will be a lot warmer on the planet. It's not going to be so warm where the ocean's going to boil or whatever, but it's still an environment we can live in. We just won't have those same luxuries as we have today.
We'll have to be like indoors, up high, and using a lot of more air conditioning.
Yeah. And we won't have the same foods, which suck because bees might go extinct. It's all depressing stuff, but life is life. And that's the life we're going to live.
So what is it? So you are a sophomore in college. In 2 years, you're going to be out in the world and you're going to be making effort towards this. What do you think that you'll be able to do in the next 2 to 5 years, you personally, towards this effort? Do you have any particular goals, or right now you're just or are you still kind of figuring it out?
It's really tough because there's a lot of ways to combat a lot of this climate change issue. Me personally, it's very difficult to get into politics because it's not an interest at hand. It's something that needs to be done with a lot of young people, but at the end of the day, it does count on your happiness in life. I feel like I'm not going to live a happy life if I get into politics. So going in the conservation end of things.
So I agree with that.
Yeah,
dismantle the system.
Yeah, so I'll be getting into a lot of conservation.
And we'll do another live about
we can change the government. We don't have to be a democracy or a fake democracy. By that way.
Yeah.
Every child is very different. So what's the alternative besides politics when it comes to change?
Rich people. It doesn't fall on them, but
this capitalism.
It kind of does, because power is time, but power is also money, and we live in a capitalist society. So rich people need to stop playing games and help out. Morgan Freeman, he bought thousands of acres of land because he was scared of the bees going to extinct, and he dedicated that for the bees. Elon Musk, the stuff that he's doing, can people get on board with what he's doing? Because he's also transforming things we use, even though they're really expensive. He's transforming the things that we have into things that are helpful and sustainable, solar panels and Tesla cars.
Why Akon? Is he the solar panels and stuff?
Yeah. So
he's making a difference in Africa and
the electricity,
the sustainable electricity and things like that. So, what are the things I know for us as a family? We have always consciously done things like recycle. We've all consciously done things like recycle, compost. So we're kind of like trying to be in. We're trying to be conscious on an individual level. Is there more things that we could do as individuals that's going to help towards the environment?
I'll say you can do a lot of things to help towards the environment, but in regards to climate change, you can ride your bike to work, not use your car for everything, carpool, that's helpful.
My work is 10 seconds from my back door.
Yeah, so you're helping out a lot, actually.
You know what? So I had an interesting conversation
I would say,
with...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I would say educate people. I noticed that, like, when I was in California, one of my friends came up and was like, why are you throwing them the banana peels or whatever? I was eating like a mango or something. I was throwing it in the grass. And they were like, why are you doing that? You're littering. I'm like, no, it's good for the earth. Like, it decomposes and it turns to nutritious soil for them. They're like, oh, I didn't know that. And I was like, oh, excuse me, sir. Like, this is an actual career. Like, this is basic stuff.
Well, in the regards of climate change,
look at him institutionalized.
there's things that's good for environment, and there's things that's good to prevent climate change. I see a lot of things about like help the oceans, clean the oceans, cleaning out plastic. I'm not saying I hate sea turtles or anything, but cleaning out plastic in the ocean does not progress helping climate change, and it doesn't. It just helps. It's good for the aquatic animals that's in the ocean and breathing in straws and like dying, and fish getting stuck in paper bags. I feel so bad for them. I'm serious. I'm not just saying that, but in regards to helping climate change, it doesn't do anything.
So, do you have any opinion on the new Connecticut law that won't allow us to use single-use plastic bags anymore?
Oh, actually, Chip was telling me about the fact. Chip was telling me that the fact that like we're using, apparently it costs more. It basically not gonna do anything because the amount of energy it takes for like plastic bags, or if it was paper bags or whatever, it doesn't really matter. I can't remember the full explanation, but I remember him talking to me about it because he used to work for some company with plastic and recycling and things like that. That like the plastic bag situation is literally just like, it's really no point because like it costs more energy to like
produce the
thing,
the paper bag.
Yeah.
I would, and I have no idea if this is true, but I would think just on a practical level, you would have to cut more trees down to make paper stuff.
But in America, we actually responsibly extract trees. It's really America's fine when it comes to cutting down forests.
But
you see all that happen.
Huge Amazon forest,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah.
It really happens overseas.
We got land.
Oh yeah, and that also happens when what's also good for environment is the emissions from animals.
Yeah, like
so that's why a lot of people turn vegan.
I'm telling you, it's literally. I think that a lot of people should go vegan. I think that also we should cut down the amounts of like meat or whatever, all that like this mass productions of meat. Like literally, you can live without it. I've literally been spending the last couple months like not even eating meat like that.
Really?
Literally.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, but I'm just saying this is on like a regular like body health, mind kind of side. Like I don't want to be that person, but no, for real, you literally don't have to eat meat every day, like literally.
So you don't need to eat meat on a daily basis. The problem is not the meat consumption; it is the amount.
Yes, the amount and the demand. Because there's such a high demand of it, we have these companies tearing down, land so that they can have all these cows to kill healthily and all this other stuff. Because the way they be killing animals is not even good for your spirit anyway, sis.
K-folks. Chicken and cow K-folks. It's like a horror story.
Listen, like it's for real. Like you really don't need to be eating these like traumatized meat for you to be traumatized and eat it and be traumatized in yourself. Like
we eat halal, so it's a little bit different.
But, like,
a little bit
still,
different.
Like the amounts of like the cows and like all the land and then tearing it down. Like why do we want to? Don't
all
encourage
that's
it.
contributing to climate change. And the reason why there's such a high demand is because we're overpopulated. We have increased the max capacity of what the Earth can hold because we're overpopulated.
There's still parts of the world that aren't even quote unquote discovered yet. Like how are we overpopulated?
I think they
Really asking that?
They never discovered every
how we
We
overpopulated,
pretty
bro.
much like, have satellite of every part of the world. But
and there's still undiscovered tribes.
But there are
We
certain
are overpopulated.
countries that are very overpopulated, like India, like China, like So are you saying like people need to have less kids? Like,
Yes, please. Birth control is 20. Basically, 2020. Have less kids, eat less meat. You can drive or ride your bike. It doesn't really matter. But like, you gotta get
Adoption
out.
is an option.
Yeah.
Your PhD, that's what I'm going for. You know, that's my kid. My PhD is my kid.
Yeah. And a lot of people think that but that's a problem. A lot of the times, the type of lifestyle
But
we
do
have
we have
now.
to really go to that extreme?
So do you want to interrupt me?
Okay, but you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Do we really
But
have to?
it's live,
Do we
y'all.
really have to? Do we really have to not have kids? Go to that extreme? That's something that, like, you know, but that's intimate for everybody. Like, people want to have kids. People want to grow. People want their kids to see the world. Also, you can't really control. That's a lot. You know what I'm saying? You can't. You stop having kids. Like, you really can use that sometimes. But is there another way besides not having kids that will whatever?
No.
The thing. Also, the
You
next.
either have life or you don't. So like, there's no in between.
No, but you said it's overpopulated.
We can go to
But
Mars
I'm confused about
or
how
the moon and
but I'm
that's
confused
that.
about how we're overpopulated. We have so much.
We have so many people on this earth, bro. If you put everybody in homes in like equal acre, we'll probably go into space. That's why we started building up. So we have a lot of open space. Like Texas is huge. Not everything is really popular or whatever.
Right.
But if you like compare it to what we should be at.
So I think I think
should.
what Isan is referring to is not the fact that there are places that are physically not populated, but the amount of people compared to, not in one place, just in general on the earth, compared to how we consume resources.
Yeah.
For the resources that the earth provide, the
That's
earth
too
is
many.
beginning to become very populated for that resources. So it's not about, there's space for, half of Texas does not have people on it physically, but the parts that are populated are densely populated. Like you said, you may not have people in Texas, but you got New York City where there's a building that has 50 stories of people, right? Or even places in Texas that has a huge apartment building. If you took every person out of that apartment building and put them on their own half an acre, then Texas would actually be full. But the fact that we were smart enough to actually create buildings to go up. So
Sounds like the government.
Yeah, we're just asking more than the earth can provide.
So it's about the Earth's resources.
I am positive. That's why we got GMOs, because we allowed corn to grow more close together, and corn is like in everything. Mm-hmm. So we have to change our food. We have to change our lifestyle by growing up. We got to change a lot of stuff about our lives in order to accommodate for the amount of people that's here. And that's why we're turning down the rainforest, because everybody wants more meat. Everybody wants more of this, everybody wants more of that.
That's really stupid that they're doing that. But also, it's hard. I wonder so for me, when it comes to climate change, I really believe in the power of humans and the power of change. There's so many stories, not just in Islam, but just in the world, about how, people have transformed. He's walking away. This is my thing. How people have transformed their lives from being, one way, and then transforming to be the better of their self, their mind, body, or spirit. I think that we were in class, because I also am taking a class, and my professor, he mentioned prophetic imagination, and he talked about, who are some people who have prophetic imagination? Asada Shakur, Harriet Tubman. Go see the movie. It was lit. Okay? You know what I'm saying? Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, all these people who imagined a world different from what the conditions that was now, but they believed in it, and they knew, they were like, okay, let me just, I see this, and I'm going to go after this vision, because I know that prophetic imagination is thinking outside the box, is thinking that the condition that I have now is not the same as here. Maybe, I always think, what if we got all the politicians, if we got, all these world leaders to really sit down and, I know it sounds crazy, but, that's the best, I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing at you.
It's beautiful.
No, listen, but it's true. No, but, seriously, what if there was a way that we had everybody talking
No, but I agree with you.
But we had, it's possible. It's not impossible for these things to happen. These are all possible. possibilities. The fact that we think that, oh well, we have all these systems in place outside of all these made up systems that we literally enforce. Like, these systems don't exist. Oppression, racism, all that other stuff. We are the ones. It's an ideology that we act and we perpetuate, all of us. So we are making it real by acting on these ideologies. But outside of all that, we are free. So therefore, okay, no.
No. I agree with you. That's
we're free. So therefore, we literally we're free in thought. So when people are like, oh, we could do this, but it will never happen, because who is to say that it will never happen? Like, literally, you can create your reality. If whatever reality you want, you can literally create it. So, or work towards it. So to say that, like, oh, this is an impossible thing because of people aren't impossible. They're actually pretty simple. So that's my thing on it. I'm mad hopeful. I'm a Libra, so that's what we out here.
I'm a Libra too.
Oh, so you
I say hit the prayer rugs. You're gonna find yourself in this lifetime. You might be the last generation to enjoy life like this.
I would say hit your prayer rugs for Allah to get that, tap into that power that Allah put within you, period, that He gave you that's limitless.
I just want to say I'm hopeful too. I would be more hopeful. No, I'm not. But like, I would be more hopeful. It's just technology distracting a lot of people. So
and
when it comes to, and when people say there's a scene in Batman and people are like, oh my gosh, is it getting worse or is just whatever? And Joker was like, it's not getting worse, it's just you're seeing more. Well, I believe it's getting worse and we're seeing more.
Oh, yeah.
Because the way the media works, it's like when you do something bad or something bad happens and you put it out there, one thing has to trump over it in order for it to like go trending. It's like, I don't want to bring it to that dark place, but like, let's just say a cow got ran over and people are like, yo, that's crazy, a cow got ran over? What? And then it says, oh, one cow got ran over next week. And they're like, oh, that's crazy, that happened last week. And somebody put 15 cows got ran over. People's like, yo, that's crazy, 15 cows. And then they're like, yo, 14 cows got ran over. People are like, yeah, that's crazy, but 15 cows happened last week, so whatever. So that doesn't have to mean shares. And then it's like, yo, 36 cows. You get what I'm saying. So one thing has to go over each other. So so
I see what you mean.
I feel like when more information is getting out there, I feel like there's 10 other things that happen, but that one just made the cut.
So the moral of the video is
Prayer rugs
for power. All right, listen. Y'all already know, you know what I'm saying? That's what I tap into. I tap into the love and light and the power, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not praying for despair, I'm praying for prosperity, ultimately, because our souls have a bigger purpose than what this life is. It's temporary, but I believe in humans. I think humans are beautiful. I think that we all have the capacity to grow and a capacity to right our wrongs, because we have the option to make this the best place on earth or the worst place on earth. Just because it's the worst place on earth, that doesn't mean it can't be the best place on earth.
You got any last thoughts to say?
I feel like
Why you gotta do the light skin lip lick?
Right?
no, that's tough because there is room for hope and a wiggle room for change right now, but the way systems work in America and around the world and how slow everything is and all the distractions that are put in place, unless we kind of transform how we make change, no change is going to happen. So, yeah, don't get too invested in climate change. Just in case it doesn't work out, you don't want to like fall into a really dark place. You're like, oh, because there's always a chance things for better, things for worse. But I'd say focus on yourself, enjoy everything that's around you while it's still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because if it's not, that's tough. That's
okay. From the mouth of young people, I can't say from the mouth of babes anymore.
See,
They're
there's two different
19 and 21.
Two different types of young people.
We're 2 years apart.
Listen,
Don't
I'm
laugh.
just saying that
19,
there's some young people who are
21.
like, I'm just trying to live my life because like the world is ending. And then like there's some people who are like me who are like, y'all need to get your behind up, stop acting like y'all don't got no power up in this homie, okay? And get some stuff moving.
You don't have power when you don't believe you don't have power.
That
When you believe you don't have power, yeah.
All right. There it is. Assalamu alaikum.
See you, friends.